PestRemovalWarrior.com presents. The environmental impact of cockroach control methods. Cockroaches are a common household pest that can have negative impacts on human health and the environment. They are known to spread diseases and trigger allergies, and their presence in homes and other buildings can be a source of stress and frustration for residents. As a result, many people turn to various methods of cockroach control in an effort to eliminate these pests from their living spaces. However, it is important to consider the environmental impacts of these control methods, as some may have unintended consequences on non-target species or the ecosystem as a whole. The environmental impact of cockroach control methods varies depending on the method used. Chemical pesticides and traps can harm non-target species and the ecosystem, while physical and biological control methods are generally more environmentally friendly. It is important to choose the most environmentally friendly approach. Is cockroach good for the environment? Cockroaches are a type of insect that is found in a variety of environments around the world. While they are often considered pests by humans due to their presence in homes and other buildings, cockroaches do have some potential benefits for the environment. However, these benefits must be balanced against the negative impacts that cockroaches can have on human health and the overall ecosystem. One potential benefit of cockroaches is that they serve as a food source for other animals. In some ecosystems, cockroaches are an important part of the food chain, providing a source of nutrition for predators such as birds and small mammals. This can help to maintain the balance of the ecosystem and support the survival of these species. Cockroaches may also have some potential benefits for the environment in terms of decomposition. Cockroaches are known to feed on a wide range of organic matter, including leaves, wood, and other plant material. By consuming and breaking down this material, cockroaches can help to speed up the decomposition process, which is an important part of the natural cycle of nutrients in an ecosystem. Despite these potential benefits, cockroaches can also have negative impacts on the environment. One of the main concerns with cockroaches is their ability to spread diseases. Cockroaches are known to carry a variety of pathogens on their bodies and in their feces, which can be transmitted to humans and other animals. This can lead to the spread of diseases such as Salmonella and E. coli, which can have serious consequences for human health and the overall ecosystem. Additionally, cockroaches can have negative impacts on the environment through their ability to damage crops and other plants. Some species of cockroaches are known to feed on seeds and seedlings, which can have a significant impact on the growth and productivity of crops. This can have negative consequences for agriculture and the overall environment. In conclusion, while cockroaches may have some potential benefits for the environment, these benefits must be balanced against the negative impacts that cockroaches can have on human health and the ecosystem. In general, it is best to minimize the presence of cockroaches in homes and other buildings in order to reduce the risk of disease transmission and other negative impacts. However, it is also important to consider the potential impacts of different cockroach control methods and to choose the most environmentally friendly approach whenever possible. The most common methods used for cockroach control. One common method of cockroach control is the use of chemical pesticides. These products are designed to kill cockroaches and other pests, but they can also have negative impacts on the environment. Some chemical pesticides are highly toxic to non-target species, including birds, amphibians, and beneficial insects such as bees and butterflies. These pesticides can also contaminate soil and water, leading to negative impacts on plant and animal life. Additionally, the overuse of chemical pesticides can lead to the development of pesticide resistance in cockroach populations, making them more difficult to control in the long term. Another method of cockroach control is the use of bait stations or traps. These products typically contain a food attractant that lures cockroaches into a container or adhesive surface, where they become trapped and eventually die. While these methods can be effective at reducing cockroach populations, they may also pose a risk to non-target species if the bait stations or traps are not properly placed or secured. For example, a bait station that is left open or unsecured may attract and kill non-target animals such as birds or rodents. Physical control methods, such as sealing cracks and crevices in buildings to prevent cockroaches from entering, can be a more environmentally friendly option for cockroach control. This method involves identifying and sealing entry points in buildings to prevent cockroaches from gaining access. This can be a labor-intensive process, but it can be an effective way to reduce cockroach populations without relying on chemical pesticides or other potentially harmful methods. Biological control methods, such as the use of predatory insects or fungi to control cockroach populations, can also be an effective and environmentally friendly option. For example, some predatory insects, such as certain species of beetles and wasps, can feed on cockroaches and help to reduce their numbers. Similarly, certain fungi can be used to kill cockroaches, although this method may not be as widely available or effective as some of the other control options. Overall, it is important to consider the environmental impacts of different cockroach control methods when choosing the best approach for a particular situation. While chemical pesticides and other methods may offer quick and effective results, they may also have negative impacts on the environment and non-target species. On the other hand, physical and biological control methods can be effective at reducing cockroach populations without causing harm to the ecosystem. Ultimately, the best approach to cockroach control will depend on the specific circumstances and the relative importance of environmental concerns in a given situation. Environmental impact of cockroach control methods. Real-life scenario No. 1. One real-life example of the environmental impact of cockroach control methods can be seen in the case of the use of chemical pesticides to control cockroaches. Chemical pesticides are designed to kill cockroaches and other pests, but they can also have negative impacts on the environment. Some chemical pesticides are highly toxic to non-target species, including birds, amphibians, and beneficial insects such as bees and butterflies. These pesticides can also contaminate soil and water, leading to negative impacts on plant and animal life. In one case, the widespread use of a particular type of chemical pesticide called organochlorines to control cockroaches in homes and other buildings led to significant environmental contamination. Organochlorines are highly persistent in the environment and can accumulate in the tissues of animals, leading to a range of negative health effects. The use of these chemicals was eventually banned in many countries due to their negative impacts on the environment and human health. This example illustrates the importance of considering the environmental impacts of different cockroach control methods when choosing the best approach for a particular situation. While chemical pesticides may offer quick and effective results, they may also have unintended consequences on the environment and non-target species. It is important to carefully consider the potential impacts of different control methods and to choose the most environmentally friendly approach whenever possible. Environmental impact of cockroach control methods. Real-life scenario No. 2. Another real-life example of the environmental impact of cockroach control methods can be seen in the case of the use of biological control agents to control cockroach populations in greenhouses. Greenhouses are specialized structures that are used to grow plants in a controlled environment, and they are often infested with pests such as cockroaches. In order to control these pests, greenhouse operators may turn to chemical pesticides or other methods of control. However, the use of chemical pesticides in greenhouses can have negative impacts on the plants being grown, as well as on the environment. To address this issue, some greenhouse operators have turned to biological control methods as a more environmentally friendly option. One example of a successful biological control program in greenhouses is the use of predatory mites to control cockroaches. Predatory mites are small, spider-like insects that feed on a variety of pests, including cockroaches. They can be introduced into greenhouses and released onto plants, where they will seek out and feed on cockroaches and other pests. This can be an effective way to control pest populations without the use of chemical pesticides. In one case, a greenhouse operator in the United States successfully implemented a biological control program using predatory mites to control cockroaches. The program resulted in a significant reduction in cockroach populations, as well as a reduction in the use of chemical pesticides. This not only benefited the plants being grown in the greenhouse, but also had positive impacts on the environment by reducing the amount of chemicals being used and released into the ecosystem. This example illustrates the potential benefits of using biological control methods for cockroach control in greenhouses and other controlled environments. By choosing an environmentally friendly approach, it is possible to control pest populations while minimizing negative impacts on the environment and the plants being grown. Biological control of cockroaches. Biological control is a method of pest control that relies on the use of natural predators or other natural mechanisms to reduce the population of a particular species. In the case of cockroaches, biological control methods may involve the use of predatory insects, fungi, or other natural predators to control and reduce cockroach populations. These methods can be an effective and environmentally friendly alternative to chemical pesticides and other methods of cockroach control. One example of a biological control method for cockroaches is the use of predatory insects. Certain species of beetles, wasps, and other insects are known to feed on cockroaches and can be effective at reducing their numbers. For example, the parasitic wasp species Hymenoptera is known to lay its eggs inside the bodies of cockroaches, where the wasp larva feeds on the cockroach from the inside. This can be a highly effective way to control cockroach populations, as the wasps are able to reproduce and multiply within the cockroach population, leading to a rapid decline in numbers. Another example of a biological control method for cockroaches is the use of fungi. Some species of fungi produce toxins that are lethal to cockroaches and can be used to control their populations. This method may not be as widely available or effective as some of the other control options, but it can be an environmentally friendly alternative to chemical pesticides. There are several advantages to using biological control methods for cockroach control. One of the main benefits is that these methods are generally safer and more environmentally friendly than chemical pesticides. Chemical pesticides can have negative impacts on non-target species and the ecosystem as a whole, while biological control methods are typically more selective and have fewer unintended consequences. Additionally, biological control methods can be effective at reducing cockroach populations without the need for repeated applications, as the predatory insects or fungi can continue to reproduce and control the population over time. However, there are also some limitations to using biological control methods for cockroach control. One of the main challenges is that these methods may not be as effective at quickly reducing cockroach populations as chemical pesticides. Additionally, the availability of predatory insects and fungi for cockroach control may vary depending on location, which can make it more difficult to implement these methods in some areas. Finally, it is important to carefully consider the potential impacts of introducing non-native species for biological control, as these species may have unintended consequences on the local ecosystem. Overall, biological control methods can be an effective and environmentally friendly option for controlling cockroach populations. While these methods may not be as quick or widely available as some of the other control options, they can be an important part of an integrated pest management strategy that considers the long-term health and well-being of the ecosystem. Step-by-step guide on how to do biological control of cockroaches. Biological control is a method of pest control that relies on the use of natural predators or other natural mechanisms to reduce the population of a particular species. If you are interested in using biological control to manage cockroach populations, here is a step-by-step guide on how to do it. Identify the target pest, The first step in implementing a biological control program is to identify the target pest and determine whether it is appropriate to use this method of control. In the case of cockroaches, it is important to determine the species of cockroaches present and to understand their biology and behavior in order to choose the most effective biological control methods. Choose the biological control agent. There are a variety of biological control agents that can be used to control cockroaches, including predatory insects, fungi, and other natural predators. It is important to choose the most appropriate agent for the specific circumstances and to consider the potential impacts on the ecosystem. Obtain the biological control agent. Once you have identified the most appropriate biological control agent for your situation, the next step is to obtain the agent. This may involve purchasing the agent from a supplier or releasing it into the environment if it is already present in the area. Release the biological control agent. Once you have obtained the biological control agent, the next step is to release it into the environment. This may involve releasing a predatory insect directly into the area where the cockroaches are present, or applying a fungal treatment to the area. Monitor the effectiveness of the biological control agent. It is important to monitor the effectiveness of the biological control agent to determine whether it is having the desired effect on the cockroach population. This may involve setting up traps or other monitoring methods to track the population over time. Adjust the biological control program as needed. If the biological control agent is not having the desired effect on the cockroach population, it may be necessary to adjust the program by using a different biological control agent or modifying the release rate or application method. Overall, biological control can be an effective and environmentally friendly option for controlling cockroach populations. By following these steps and carefully considering the potential impacts on the ecosystem, it is possible to implement a successful biological control program to manage these pests.